Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, it's Anna and welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Jennifer McKenzie. She's a qualified life coach, spiritual mentor, holistic therapist, Reiki master and teacher, and mediation mindfulness facilitator and gravity yoga instructor. She works with you on a deep level to get the root of the problem, helps you to remove blockages, smash through limiting beliefs to bring you back into alignment, attracting abundance into all areas of your life. Jen is known as the empowered empath, and she's on a mission to raise awareness for mental health, addictions using holistic methods. And wow, she has such a story. I'm so excited to be sharing with you everything that she has been through in her journey, and she's such an inspiring lady. So welcome to this episode. Okay, so hi, I'm really excited to be interviewing Jen today. And as you all know, with the Freedom Podcast, we talk about 3 pillars, which is freedom in love, freedom in mind, and freedom in money. And I know that, Jen, you've got a really inspiring story to share really today. So I just wanted to kind of kick off really with a bit about who you are and how you've kind of come to this place of doing your spiritual coaching, I suppose. So tell us a little bit about how you've got this far.
Hello. Well, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here. So yeah, my name is Jen. I'm a spiritual life coach, holistic therapist. I've been in the industry for about 18 years. I started my journey back in 2003 when I learnt anatomy and physiology and reflexology. And then that was where I was introduced to more the spiritual side of things, where I met my first Reiki master. I've just always been fascinated with the human body, the human mind, and how it all works and how it all kind of, fascinated me with body language and how we think and how we speak and everything. And I've always been a very sensitive, emotional person, which I later kind of discovered that is an empath. Yeah. So I've been exploring that a lot lately and a lot with like my clients. But so a little bit really about my journey. It kind of hasn't always been easy, like it is today. I'm fit and well, and I'm thriving, but it hasn't always been that way. I've had a lot of challenges and a lot of things that I've had to overcome in my life, and I kind of take it right back to being younger, really, being this like emotional kind of person and a very reactive child. So if things weren't sort of going my way or things had to change, I would take it really badly, take it really personally, and I always felt things so very deeply, and kind of took things personally, and so everything was kind of fine, but then school happened and you're out in the big wide world, aren't you, and get susceptible to other kids, and they're not always that kind, and I was always an outgoing. If I wanted something, I would go out and get it. I wasn't a shrinking wallflower. I was quite a confident child, and I kind of did everything I put my mind to in a way. And then at school, I got bullied for being small. I actually used to have little rosy cheeks as well, so I got bullied for that, and this group of girls kind of bullied my confidence out of me. They were like my friends, supposed to be my friends, and whenever I would like do dancing or performing or anything like that, they would be sniggering and laughing, and I'd just get picked on, and
It's funny because I was literally talking this morning to my mum about this. Probably because the schools have gone back and I'm a bit kind of 50-50 about homeschooling properly at the moment. And I was just talking about how kids can be mean, and not saying that my children are perfect, because I think my kids have been mean back, and different things. I just think with children, it doesn't matter if you're kind of like, if you're talented at something, that you'll get picked on. If you're not talented, you'll get picked on. If you're small, you get picked on. If you're tall, and my two are mixed race at a school that are quite white dominated. You know what I mean? Not much multicultural presence, I suppose. And they're starting to kind of get confidence with their differences, which I'm really proud about. My eldest has been growing a massive afro for ages, and I think he used to want to have it cut really short, like he couldn't even see one curl, so I can see he's like coming into his his individuality. But I was chatting to my mum this morning because I'd seen a message on my son's phone about at least my dad didn't dump me when I was 5 or something.
Yeah.
Children so mean, He came back with a really good one-liner back. It was something like, we left him, or something like that. But I just thought, kids are just everything about you. They just find something, don't they? And it's lack of confidence on their behalf. But things like that can really affect you going forward into adulthood, I think, and your confidence, like you say.
Massively, yeah. And I mean, it stopped me taking part in things because and then I kind of grew up with this fear of being ridiculed, and this fear of putting myself out there because of what other people might say, and I now know that these are like, lies, these are limiting beliefs that I picked up. And then, they're not actually true, because I'm more than capable of doing these things. But that's where I had to learn resilience, and like mental and physical resilience, emotional resilience in my life. But it did knock my confidence massively. And then, when I went to upper school, I was painfully shy. I was like, like everyone would look at me and I'd go red, especially then when you start to be interested in, like romantically with people, you start to go through puberty, and it's like, oh my God, what do you do in this situation? So I was just painfully shy. And when I was 13, I discovered alcohol, which I remember having my first alcoholic drink, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I kind of, my inhibitions went out and I could be whoever the hell I wanted to be.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I wanted more of that, and it quite quickly became a problem at a very young age, which led on to drugs as well. So at 14, I was drinking heavily and taking lots of drugs, quite hard drugs. And it, as you can imagine, that kind of comes with its own consequences.
Yeah.
My parents split up when I was 14 as well. So all these things.
Yeah, all these things.
Age 14, when you're going through loads of changes, physically, emotionally, and you've got the pressure of being a teenager, and I had my parents splitting up, and then I discovered this outlet, which was the drink and the drugs. And I was, then the drink and the drugs would lead to me kind of partaking in risky behavior, maybe not being quite a very nice person either, because, of all the stuff I'd suppressed. It kind of came out then when I was drunk or drinking. And then, the next day I would have all this guilt and this shame that I'd not been a nice person to the people around me. So it kind of got spiraled into a bit of a mess, really. And when I was 16, I took an overdose, and my first suicide attempt was at a young age as well. Because I thought, I'm not a nice person. I kind of withdraw. I didn't like myself. And, I'd be doing well at things, and then I would self-sabotage and things would come crashing down. But nothing really happened about that overdose. It wasn't spoken about. It all kind of got brushed under the carpet. No one really mentioned it again.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I don't think that would happen, nowadays. I think that there's a lot more help available and a lot more recognition, but there was no outside help, and we just all carried on. So again, it's like the suppressing.
I was going to say that would have suppressed all your feelings of why, and kind of like then with it not being brought up, then for you to bring it up would be a really big deal, wouldn't it? Because no one else was.
Yeah, and it just sort of nothing got dealt with, basically, and that was, I felt that was what was happening growing up, kind of thing. Nothing really got talked about. Everything got ignored and brushed under, and we just carry on. We just, do that very English thing of, oh yes, we'll just carry on, regardless, So that is not helpful in itself. When we suppress our emotions, they're going to manifest and they're going to explode in some form, whether that goes on into our physical bodies as a disease or illness, or whether that comes out emotionally in outbursts and things. And then I struggled with my mental health all through my teens and my 20s. So for me, sort of fast forward a little bit, this cycle kind of kept going round and round and round. I'd have periods of doing really well, and then something would happen and I would go straight back to my comfort zone, which was drink and drugs.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad taking me to an AA meeting when I was 22, I think I was. He kind of just dropped me off there. And I remember walking in there and I was just like, what the hell am I doing here? And at the time there wasn't that many young people there.
Yeah.
And I didn't go back. I didn't, and I carried on really doing what I was doing for a lot of years. I've got 4 children now. I had my first daughter, and I had a lovely period of being calm and sorting myself out for quite a few years, really. And it just kept going round and round and round, and this self-doubt, this self-hatred was still
basically when something went wrong or something didn't go quite right, that's when you would like divert back, kind of thing. Yes. Revert back to something. Yeah.
So I had no control over my emotions, really, and I didn't really know what that meant or what that was. So and then
probably just like like a mistake, whereas like you kind of see mistakes as you learn from them and move forward. For you, maybe like the mistakes were like, I'm a failure.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It'd be like, oh my God, the world's gonna crumble. I'm an awful person. That no one likes me and all this stuff. It was very like irrational. If you put it now into like terms now, I would acting very irrational.
So how did you kind of like get out of that then? What was it that kind of was the light bulb moment, or kind of wake up some kind of change, or what was it?
I'd then continued this cycle of doing well. I had a good job. But then relationships are very difficult for me, and friendships and romantic relationships. So I came out as bisexual when I was 14 as well. So I had like all that kind of emotion to deal with as well. So, and then a lot of misunderstanding from other people around that. I actually did a podcast about, for another podcast being talking about bisexuality and kind of like the myths that.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like assumptions that people probably.
Yeah. So, I was quite confused, I guess, as well, because I was like, well, you know, I should be feeling this way. It's that horrible word, should. You know, I thought that I should be doing this, I should be acting this, I should be feeling this, and when that wasn't really true for me inside. And I ended up losing everything in 2008. I had 2 daughters, a nice house, a car, good job. And slowly but surely, they, through drinking and drug use, it all kind of fell apart for me. And I became homeless. And that was a very difficult point in my life. I had to move back to my mum's. And yeah, lost everything. Lost the children, went to live with their dad at the time. Yeah, and I was just this kind of mess, and I didn't really know what to do in my life, but I didn't sort it out, and my mum had enough of me, and she chucked me out, and I was actually completely homeless, and my family stopped talking to me. So I'd really, really hit a massive rock bottom.
That must have been really difficult.
Yeah, well, I ended up with nothing, and I'm addicted to drugs and alcohol, and I was actually pregnant as well with my 3rd daughter. Yeah, so
just to complicate things further,
add that in the mix. Yeah. I wasn't in a relationship or anything like that, but I was kind of just on my own, and I was like, I've really got to sort my life out. And I did get housed. It was a battle because they used the kind of the drink and the drugs against me to say I made myself intentionally homeless. And I had to go through, I actually from somewhere, I don't know, just found this strength within me to fight it, because I wasn't gonna have that, you know. And luckily I did get housed, and I've been in my house now for 8 years, and it's, you know, life did get better in that respect. And yeah, I had my 3rd daughter, and I was able to make some positive changes, but I still have this lingering sense of not being good enough. I mean, and I attracted kind of narcissistic relationships as well. So my relationships were not great with various partners. They all seemed to be controlling, narcissistic, or and in some cases violent. I've experienced that as well, which didn't do anything for my self-esteem. And you know, the manipulation and the
know it well.
So the physical and the mental abuse, you know, it wasn't always, you know, black eyes in hospital. It you know, I think words are just as damaging.
I think sometimes it's worse, because you could. There was times that I thought, I wish you just punched me in my face and just get it over and done with, rather than
stop talking and stop
just
telling
like
me
all the psychological thing of that, you know. And the thing is, it doesn't go away, stuff like that.
Oh no.
Even if you know, you can be away from it and work on yourself and stuff, but there's still things that odd time come up where you question yourself with things. I find myself, and then I know now how to manage that. But you know, I think for a time you just there's certain little triggers that you have that I think, you know, when you hear people say, oh yeah, I was this and now I'm this, as though like their whole life's complete. I believe it's all kind of like an ongoing journey that you keep on working with on yourself and stuff, you know. I don't think you can just kind of recover overnight from stuff.
Oh no. So I was then, aspects of my life were improving, but I'm a big believer in that, you know, self-awareness and getting to know yourself. And that's what I had to do. I had to kind of re-meet myself, if so to speak, because I was lost. I didn't really know who I was and what I wanted, and I still had that underlying feeling of self-doubt and self-hatred. It was difficult to shake. You know, I have now, but that work took me a lot of years to shake. But in 2015, after leaving a toxic, horrible relationship with my son's dad. So baby number 4 for my son. And, you know, I did my Reiki Masters teachers in 2014. And that changed a lot for me spiritually. And I looked at him and I said, I don't want this. I don't want to marry you. I don't, because we were due to get married like later that year. And I actually said, I don't want this. And, you know, come to a big head of all sorts of stuff. I won't go into that now, but yeah, I ended up getting arrested. He got arrested like late the next day. Oh, it was all a big mess. But I thought, you know what, this is the universe saying this is your way out. So I changed the locks and I didn't let him back in. And I thought, you know what, this has happened for a reason.
Exactly.
And it's my opportunity to, because I don't think he would have left quietly, you know. I don't think that but me changing the lock and like taking the keys and saying to the police that I don't want him back in this house, he had no choice but to, you know. And I'm sure he still resents me for that to this day. Who knows? Don't really care. But
exactly. But that was your olive branch, probably the universe giving you that.
I really do believe that.
I remember I had that opportunity and I didn't take it and then regretted it afterwards. So you did well to
it felt scary and it felt kind of wrong, but in the long term, you know, and then I got loads of stick from him. And then unfortunately my mental health did take a decline. And I did have a second suicide attempt in 2015, to November 2015. And that was the kind of the massive turning point for me. So I actually got sectioned and I was put into a psychiatric ward. And in there, I looked around and I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, oh my God, you know, look, you know, I didn't look like me. It was, I was like, where have I gone? You know, it just didn't feel like me at all. And I remember, because everything's plastic in there, you know, the windows don't open or nothing like that. You literally can't go anywhere. You're stuck. And I came back from having lunch and I had my big book of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, a big blue book on my bed. And I came back and there was a white feather sitting on top of my book. And I was like, okay, how the hell has that got in here, for one? And there's no feathers anywhere. And it was just literally placed in the middle, on top of the book. I've got it stuck in there now. And I kept it. And I laid on the bed and I thought to myself, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And at first I was annoyed that I kind of survived. I was but you know, and then I lay there and I was thankful and I was grateful that I was, because I thought I don't want to leave my kids. I don't want to leave. I don't want to cause them that pain, you know. And I just had this like massive spiritual awakening laying on that bed, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I discharged myself after about 10 days. And because they just chased you around with medication, like forced you to have it, and it was horrible. It made you just completely zombified.
I always thought, because my background, I was in the pharmaceutical industry, so I used to be a legal drug pusher, and it's made me go, having worked in the pharmaceutical industry for like, I think it's 12, 14 years, something like that. It's made me go like the complete opposite way. Some people, I think it fuels their way of, you know, going to the doctors and getting drugs, but me and the boys don't even really have paracetamol. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm a big believer that it's like, I think if in this country we actually sat down and spoke to people, I used to think this with the GPs all the time, they'd be so, you go to, you know, there's this whole, what do you call it, like system of going to the doctors, getting a prescription, relieving the symptoms, and people don't realize that you're taking a massive risk just taking a legal drug, you know, because there's always going to be a consequence in your body for that drug, whereas actually if you focus on well-being and happiness and obviously the food you eat and all that kind of stuff, and don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect on that. I'd like to be. I have weeks of like being really healthy and juicing, and then the next thing I'm eating fish and chips, you know. So
you know, and
exactly.
that's not denying yourself something.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a strong believer in, like, you know, going with what you feel like doing at the time. You know, things that's not going to have humongous destructive consequences. But you know,
this whole thing of being perfect, I think we're all pressured, aren't we, in this
there isn't any
social media world to be this perfect thing. But I do think it's a culture here and in the US and in probably other countries as well of, you know, going to the doctors, and it's always like drug based. So I've always thought that if you were in like a psychiatric ward, that they would be really pushing medication. Yeah. And understandably, with some people, it may be needed for certain moments, but not all the time. That's what really frustrated me about the whole pharmaceutical industry anyway. But also, I just think if people actually just focus more on like talk therapy with people, we'd be a lot further ahead with things. So it's interesting you say that, because that's not that's not that long ago, and people have argued with me and said, oh, that's a historic thing that we give medication. But I think the doctors, even when I was having
even today,
they're constant with medications for this, that, and the other, and you're like, can't we just be a bit more natural?
Yeah,
we don't need all these things.
So I was on 6 different types of medication. So in 2012, I also got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And it's quite rare for somebody with bipolar to not be medicated, because it's a complicated mental health. You know, it's a chemical imbalance rather than an emotional thing. It's an actual physical chemical imbalance in your brain.
Yeah,
can be measured by brain scans. So I did get diagnosed with that in 2012. So I was on 6 different types of medication at one point. Now I've been medication free for 2 years now.
That's good.
Yeah, and I feel so much better.
Yeah,
but you've got the damaging effects on your liver and your kidneys. So if I was, you know, do they really know the
long-term consequence? This is what I think. It's just
I was on lamotrigine, fluoxetine, amitriptyline,
zombers you out, doesn't it?
You know, and then I had propranolol as well for severe anxiety. It's just a whole big mess, and I was just medicated up to the eyeballs. But you know, then was I replacing recreational? Well, it wasn't recreational really. It was just street drugs for prescribed medications, because you know, they're just as addictive. And I remember at one point at the doctors, they were trying to give me an opioid based medication. I was like, you do realise that I've been in recovery for addiction? I said, do you really think that's wise to give me that? And they were like, oh, actually, yeah, no. I was like, you haven't even read my notes. You're just willy-nilly kind of giving out these medications without thinking of the consequences.
That happens so much. It's just
so it is a big thing for me, is natural remedies, and you know, trying to do things without pills. But so from that incident, I kind of just stripped everything back and just rebuilt my life. And I actually kept the bloke's healing. I kept his shed, his tool shed, chucked out all the tools. I kept it and I converted it into a treatment room.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so the healing shed was born. Is what I called it. So I thought, do you know what? I want to use my skills. I want to start my own business, and I did that from my lounge, and then moved to the back garden where I had my treatment room, and it's gone.
And then start doing like Reiki healing and stuff.
Yeah, so I do massage, Indian head massage, reflexology, Reiki healing, and then I teach Reiki as well. And then about 18 months ago, I trained to be a life coach. And I do, life coaching, spiritual life coaching now as well. So but I had to do a lot of work on me, and I had to delve deep into why I was escaping, why I was doing these things. So I had to kind of learn about my condition. I had to learn about my triggers, and I don't believe in skimming over the surface of things. I had to delve really deep and do some really uncomfortable healing. I'm not going to say it was like, oh, this amazing like spiritual awakening. It was dark. It was uncomfortable, and I had to face things about myself that were not nice. And I call it becoming aware of your own bullshit. Because that's basically what it is. And because it wasn't always about other people. I also had toxic behaviors, and also had times where I was violent, where I was not very nice, where I was vindictive against other people. So I had to kind of unpick all that as well, and really go back to the start. And
so how
now
I'm just thinking of people like that could be listening to this, who could be, because I was saying to you before we recorded about how, the reason I put this podcast together was to help people who might be going through a bit of a dark time, and to kind of just give them that. Hearing other people's stories has helped me think, well, there is light at the end of the tunnel type of thing. So for someone that's listening to this now, who's thinking, well, I probably need to do that, I probably need to, what was your phrase with the bullshit? What was it?
Become aware of your own bullshit.
Become aware of your own bullshit. Because I've done stuff where I've like spent a lot of time on my own. Probably cut people off a lot. But wanted to, just because I really wanted to, like, just kind of analyze myself, and spent a lot of nights sort of like crying myself to sleep and things like that. And like, just I remember someone, I can't even remember who it was now, because I've had lots of different things. I think someone said to me about just stop fighting going through something, just let it, just release all of that energy. Because I think a lot of the time we're always like thinking about what's normal and what's perfect and what we should, like you said, should. And actually, it's if you keep your emotion in and think, I can't get upset because I shouldn't do, then actually it's worse, isn't it? It's just like releasing it and letting that moment pass. Because you feel so much better afterwards. And there's lots of different ways that you can do it and stuff. But I had to just spend a lot of time on my own, because I just kept thinking, I'm never going to be free of this person that is trying to bring me down. It was like going on for years and years and years. And I just had to just accept stuff, really, and let it go. So is there anything that you can share to people who are thinking, I'm in that cycle, maybe similar to you with like alcohol or drugs, or just anyone that can relate to your story? How do you get out of it? Because obviously it went on for a while for you, and you did have that spiritual awakening, but anything you'd want to anything just to like help people, really, like.
So for me, it was about, why am I escaping? What am I running away from? Because we often use drink, drugs, sex, shopping. Addiction spans a wide range of things. Working so hard, cleaning. These are kind of all trauma responses to what's going on inside of us. So the first instance would be recognize why you're drinking too much, why you feel the need to escape, because that's what it is. It's escaping our reality. And our feelings, sometimes to sit with our feelings is uncomfortable, because we're actually facing the truth, and sometimes we don't want to admit that we're hurt. We don't want to admit that we feel rejected, or we feel like we're not good enough. Or we feel kind of slightly jealous, or envious of somebody else doing something that we want to do. These are all normal feelings, but they're feelings that we don't want to admit to often. And then I find these are those uncomfortable feelings is where people tend to drink, or then escape from them, run away from them. So learning to sit with your feelings is a big one. So I think identifying what is actually going on, learning about and naming your feelings. Name it. Because often we don't know, we think, oh, I'm feeling really irritable, I'm pissed off. But then it's like, why are you feeling pissed off? So it could be like, oh, well, I didn't get that job. And then that could be like, well, now I don't feel good enough. And then it's like the fear of rejection. And then, so what it comes down to is usually a fear of something.
Yeah.
It usually comes from a fear-based place. But then by identifying what's actually going on, we can then find solutions and ways that we can overcome that. And a big one for me is, and I think for everybody, is forgiveness. Practicing the art of forgiveness has been a huge stepping stone for me, and it still is a huge part of my journey. Forgiving people, it doesn't mean you forgive what they've done.
Forget, doesn't it? Yeah, exactly.
Using an action, it's not that. Forgiveness is about us. It's not about the other person. It's got nothing. We don't tell them that we're doing it, and we don't ever have to tell them. But that's an inside job. Forgiveness is an inside job, and then forgive yourself. Forgiving yourself for not having all the information at the time, and making mistakes, if you want to call them that, for making decisions that aren't actually helpful within the information you have at the time. It's like, be kind to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Allow yourself that space to heal, because it does take time, and it takes getting to know yourself, and that self-awareness and will then teach you resilience. I'm big on resilience as well, emotional resilience. I mean, things happen all the time outside of us and things we can't control, but it's about controlling our reactions to that.
Exactly.
And I think acceptance, radical acceptance, it's called in coaching. And because sometimes you just have to accept that things are what they are, and you can't control anything outside of yourself. And acceptance, it might be quick, or it might take a while to fully accept a situation or something, that's happened. And then release.
Yeah. I think sometimes, like, everyone's got insecurities, and I think we're always beating ourselves up for really unnecessary things. And we look at mental health, don't we? It's like, these people have got mental health issues, when actually I think everyone's got mental health issues, or as regards to issues. What I'm saying is we've all got different challenges that we're dealing with. And I think to a certain extent, we're all fucked up in a certain way. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got anxiety, but just people wouldn't admit it, because even if you perceive that your life is pretty much perfect, I bet you're not really having that much time to sit back and analyze yourself. I don't know. I just think we see all these different. We have all these different labels for things, don't we? And actually, I think a lot of that is unnecessary that we do in society.
So I've set up, like, for my clients, I've set up the ARM method. So it's acknowledge, accept, release, move on. So it's ARM. Yeah.
I think that can help people, can't it? Because you then breaking it down. I used to do a lot of things where I was literally, if I was really upset about stuff, I'd just literally brain dump on a piece of paper. It wouldn't necessarily be in a book, a pretty book or whatever. It just would be like the nearest bit of paper. I'd just be like scribbling all my different thoughts and everything. Because I think sometimes people will say, oh, speak to a friend. But a lot of the time, people, I felt, didn't understand my situation, because your situation is unique. Even if someone else has been through a similar situation, your own situation is so unique. And I think sometimes just working on it yourself can really help.
Brain dumping is so powerful. Just getting that down on a piece of paper, and then walk away from it, and then read it back, and it's like, okay, so how much of this is actual fact? How much of this is my my stuff. I was about to say shit. My stuff, and how much is this?
Again.
Yeah, I swear a lot. So, and this, how much of it is other people's stuff. So then, like at the end of the day, you can't. If you've ever like been around people like for the day and you come home exhausted, chances are you're probably an empath. And then you're coming home and it's like, well, why have I got these funny feelings? And then you need to like decipher what's yours and what's other people's you've absorbed and taken on like throughout the day. I find then brain dumping is a really good tool for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's good for kids as well. Trying to like encourage it with the boys. It's sort of harder sometimes because they're like, anything I tell them to do, they don't want to do. But I definitely think, I always think it's challenging more for boys than girls in a way, just because society says that boys need to be tough, you know, and not show their emotions and all that kind of stuff.
Oh God, let's not. That's a whole nother episode.
It is. But I think it's hard for boys just to get the balance, you know. But anyway, yeah, like you say, that's a different topic.
Yeah.
So tell us about what you're doing, because obviously I know you're doing. I don't know much about it because I know we recently connected through Facebook, and I could just tell that there was some alignment with us. So tell us about what you're doing with your spiritual coaching and.
My business is spiritually and holistic focus company. So is Lunar Spirit Wellbeing is my company, and then I have the Healing Shed in Bedfordshire, and then I'm opening Lunar Spirit Holistic Hub down in Hatfield, Hertfordshire, in the upcoming weeks. So I have 2 premises where I offer life coaching, holistic therapies such as massage, deep tissue massage, Indian head, reflexology, Reiki healing. I'm a Reiki teacher, so I run Reiki courses throughout the year. Cool. And I'm also a meditation teacher because meditation literally saved my life, I believe.
I'll maybe not say same life, but I used to think it was all bollocks, basically. I used to think it was all woo-woo crap. Probably because I was from like biology background and corporate world. And then now I like meditate daily. If I don't, I feel like I've missed out on something.
Scientific evidence to say, you know, all the benefits of meditation. So how I work is science meets spirituality, because I love science and I love like the facts and how things work and the brain, and like, you know, touching on a bit of neuroscience and everything as well. So I love the science side of things, and then I incorporate science and spirituality into my treatments and my coaching programs. So I have like 2 kind of coaching programs. One's called the Anxiety Release Method, where I help people with varying degrees of anxiety to help with spiritual methods, using NLP techniques, Eastern philosophies, and some EFT in there, and some coaching. There's a whole kind of toolbox of stuff that I use.
That's good. I love EFT as well. That used to help me before court hearings.
Yeah. I used to actually do that without realizing. I didn't even know what it was. I used to tap like as a kid, and like this.
Right, wow.
And I only like last year I only really then learned about what EFT is. I was like, I've just done that, like subconsciously. I've just known what to do.
I used to have my own version of it. I'd do it, but I'd also get, you know, those little ball things of essential oils.
Yeah.
I used to, because I'm a smoker, I used to have had a fag before I'd go in the court hearing, and then be like, oh, I smell of fags. So I get and if you would get perfume, it gets removed off you as you go in court, because you could obviously spray it in someone's face. So those little roll of things never did, and I just love essential oils. So I used to breathe it in and just tap, and that always used to work for me. I just used to then feel really calm going in.
I use essential oils as well in all my treatments. For anchoring, during meditation, spiritual, opening up the third eye chakra as well for like meditation, and like Reiki. So I use them in all my treatments, and I actually use them now instead of medication. So I take
cool.
I use essentials because they're really powerful for our physical and emotional health. And I've replaced everything in my medicine cabinet now with essential oils.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So then the other spiritual program I do is called the Empowered Empaths. So, and it's a spiritual coaching program which is focused around empathetic people that are possibly unaware they're an empath. So I take you from unaware empath to empowered empath. And I've designed that program. It's got a loose framework of like 10 modules, but because I tailor everything to each person's individual needs. But we work on like boundaries and spiritual practices where we can implement them into like our everyday lives. And it's a really like successful program. It's quite a new thing that I brought out this year, but it's
sounds
doing
good.
really well.
How can people find out about your stuff? Because obviously I know you're on Facebook, 'cause that's how we connected, but what's the best way for people to contact you and learn more?
So my website has loads of information on lunarspiritwellbeing.com. You can join my membership group through there as well, book an appointment. I work online and in person. Obviously not with the massage, but I do distance healing, distance Reiki, and I then can coach online or in person.
Brilliant.
And I do an online meditation and healing evening fortnightly on a Wednesday night.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
If you send me the links afterwards, I'll put them in the comments so everyone can get the links in there. There's one question I always ask everybody at the end of my interviews. I should have given you the heads up at the beginning, but I think I asked it on the interview thing. So it's because obviously the podcast is your freedom podcast. What does freedom mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Freedom means to me freedom from the shackles of my own mind. Because I think that, sometimes the worst place you can be is a prisoner inside your own head with your own thoughts. So freedom means to me living freedom from my thoughts and that horrible gremlin on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And, living in alignment, doing what I want. Really.
exactly.
Yeah. And not caring what other people think.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time on that, because I think I'd be lying if I said I don't care about what people think about me, because I think if someone started sending me spam messages calling me like horrible things, it would affect me. I'd deal with it, but it would affect me. So it'd be a lie to say I don't care what people think of me. But compared to how I was, it doesn't bother me so much like people's opinions of me, but if someone was directly nasty, of course you'd be like, well, why is this person being nasty, but I think that's from working on myself.
But that's them, really, not you.
Yeah, exactly.
People hurt people, don't they? So if I just feel sorry for them now, and just like, well, you must be pretty hurt inside to want to verbally attack me. So
exactly. Well, big thank you for coming on and spending your time and more important, being really vulnerable to share all your whole journey, because I think as we said previously, I think it really helps on this podcast sharing your stories of like different challenges you've had and just being really open about it, because actually there could be some people listening to this that think, wow, she's got through all of this and she's setting up some good stuff with our coaching and she's come out the other side. And I think it's really inspiring to hear these stories. So thanks for kind of sharing and giving you
vulnerability is powerful.
It is, yeah. So brilliant. Thanks, Jen. I'll put all Jen's details in the comments section so you can go and check out her website. Maybe join her meditation or some of her coaching programs, or if you're in Bedfordshire, you can go and get a nice massage or some reflexology or Reiki, anything really. But thanks again, Jen, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.